Hey everybody, I hope and pray that you're doing well today as we come to our word from the Word. And today that word is fear. Fear. Now, we're all afraid of something, that is for sure. And whether or not we like to admit it or not, there's certain things that we do or do not like, and some things that maybe just really just instantly strike fear in your heart and just everything about you. Well, here as we go to Numbers chapter 13 today, as we see that God is telling them to go ahead and look, and He wants them to go into the land that He has promised them. Now, that's the interesting thing, as always, to read the whole passage so you see. But here, Numbers chapter 13, compare it with Deuteronomy chapter 1, which we haven't gotten there yet, but you can look ahead. And you will see that there Moses says, well, hey, don't forget, you ask for scouts and spies to go into the land to check out the land. Here, when you read it in Numbers 13, it appears as though God is telling them to go. Well, it's like other stories where you see different points of view or different accounts of it, and it's still talking about the same thing. So, evidently, from what we have, they said that they wanted to send out scouts, and so Moses says, "Okay, well, God, this is what they want to do," and then God says, "Okay, send them out. Send one from every tribe." So they send the spies out into the land that, let me say this again, let me remind you, you go back to the beginning of chapter 13, he says, to the land that I am giving them, the land which I am giving them. In other words, it already belongs to them. It's going to be theirs. I'm leading you to the place where the land is yours. And the reason I put that emphasis on that is because so many times God has promised us where He's going to get us, but yet we're too afraid to step forward. So here, I think as they go, I mean, it's not a bad idea to go ahead and say, hey, what's the best route for this group of people to go? Even though the cloud of the Lord is leading them. Hey, we want to look ahead and see what are we going to be facing? What challenges are we going to have? There's nothing wrong with planning ahead. I mean, we've talked about that even before. Nothing wrong with using our noggins, right? That God has given us that brain power. So they go ahead and then 40 days, they come back, they bring a report. Well, 10 out of the 12 bring a negative report. And then two, Joshua and Caleb are the only two that bring a positive report. Even when they come back and say that, man, everything was beautiful, everything was great, the land was wonderful. And they even bring back a cluster of grapes that had to be carried between two men. I don't know about you, I've never seen grapes like that. But he says, man, that's the kind of lush vegetation and fruit produce that they have. But that wasn't good enough. Notice what it says. We're going to pick up in verse 30 and read through verse 33. Then Caleb quieted the people before Moses and said, let us go up at once and take possession, for we are well able to overcome it. But the men who had gone up with him said, we are not able to go up against the people, for they are stronger than we. And they gave the children of Israel a bad report of the land which they had spied out, saying, the land through which we have gone as spies is a land that devours its inhabitants. And all the people whom we saw in it are men of great stature. There we saw the giants. The descendants of Anak came from the giants. And we were like grasshoppers in our own sight. And so we were in their sight. So they're worried about all the tall people they saw, all the giants living in the land. The people were huge. Regardless of what the people looked like, were they supposed to be going to spy out the people? Were they supposed to be going and scouting out all of that? Or were they supposed to be going to scout out the land, the place that God had already said He was going to give them? See, what happens is when God does allow us to do the things that we have asked, He tells us to go ahead and, like He says, hey, I'm going to take you to the land. And we say, well, hold on, we want to send somebody ahead and really check it out before we step out in full faith and obedience. And so God, being the patient God that he is, says, okay, go ahead. We go ahead and we see a little bit of the future, and then we decide, man, that would be wonderful, but man, it's full of problems. Man, it's full of things that we cannot overcome. And fear creeps in. And then fear begins to take over. This story is going to continue into chapter 14, and so we'll discuss some more of it then. But I want you to beware of fear creeping in, especially when God has said and told us, he's given us promises in his word. And as soon as we decide, well, hold on, I need to test that out before I believe it, we're going to see something that doesn't make sense to us. We're going to see something that's impossible or seemingly impossible. But let me remind you that with God, nothing is impossible. Who cares if the people there were huge? Who cares what the people looked like? Who cares what everything else looked like? Who cares about the fortified cities that they had? Who cares? God said he was going to give it to them. That's all they needed to know. Yet, they did the same things we did. When God says go, and we say, whoa, hold on, I'm not quite ready yet. Today, I think we need to just reflect on the promises that God has given us and think about the things that God has told you. The things that maybe it's situations in your life that God is leading you and leading you up to, and you can almost kind of see where it's going, right? God gives us that ability sometimes to, I'm not saying predict the future or anything like that, but to be able to see, to have discernment of what is coming. When we have that discernment, don't look at it and say, man, I'm afraid, and start backing up. God didn't show you that so you could be afraid. He showed you that so you would walk by faith. Today, are you walking in fear? Or are you walking by faith? God bless you, and I pray you have a great, great day.